Adani's hands shook as she stared at the test results in the doctor's office. The words on the paper seemed to dance before her eyes, but she could not escape their meaning. The disease had no cure. Her body would never be the same again. "I'm so sorry, Miss Adani," Dr. Okafor said softly, his kind eyes filled with sadness. "The test shows you have contracted a very serious illness. We can help you manage it, but..." Adani could not hear the rest of his words. Her mind went back to that terrible night 3 months ago. The night she gave up everything to save the man she loved. The night that changed her life forever. She thought about Emeka, her boyfriend of 2 years. Where was he now? He had promised to stand by her no matter what happened. But when she needed him most, when the sickness started showing, he had disappeared like morning mist. The worst part was not the disease eating away at her body. The worst part was the phone call she received just yesterday. Emeka's voice had been cold, different from the warm voice that used to tell her, "I love you," every morning. "Adani, I cannot do this anymore," he had said. "I have found someone else. Someone clean. Someone who can give me a normal life." Those words hurt more than any pain the disease could cause. After everything she had done for him, after she had sold her body to save his life. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Let me tell you how this terrible story began. 3 months earlier, Adani sat beside Emeka's hospital bed, holding his weak hand in both of hers. The machines around him beeped softly, and the smell of medicine filled the air. Her boyfriend looked so thin and pale. The sickness had taken away his strength, his smile, and nearly his life. "The doctor says I need the operation quickly," Emeka whispered, his voice barely audible. "If I don't get it in 2 weeks, I will die." Adani's heart broke into a million pieces. She had already sold everything she owned, her phone, her jewelry, even her mother's old sewing machine. But it was not enough. The operation cost 2 million naira, and she only had 50,000 naira. "Don't worry, my love," she said, trying to sound strong even though tears were falling down her face. "I will find the money. I will save you." Emeka squeezed her hand weakly. "How? We have tried everything. My family has no money. Your family has no money. The bank will not give us a loan because we are too young and have no jobs." Adani looked into his tired eyes. She had loved this man since they were in secondary school together. They had planned to get married after university. They had dreamed of having children and growing old together. She could not let him die. "There has to be a way," she said firmly. "I will not give up on us." That night, Adani walked the streets of Lagos, thinking hard. She needed 2 million naira in 2 weeks. It seemed impossible. She was only 22 years old, a student at the University of Lagos studying English literature. She had no rich relatives, no valuable things to sell, no way to make that much money quickly. As she walked past the fancy hotels in Victoria Island, she saw expensive cars and well-dressed people. Rich men in fine suits walked with beautiful women in designer clothes. An idea began to form in her mind, a terrible, desperate idea that made her stomach feel sick. She remembered the stories her roommate Kemi used to tell. Stories about girls who made money by spending time with rich men. Girls who sold their bodies for cash. Adani had always judged those girls, thinking they were bad people. But now, facing the death of the man she loved, she began to understand why someone might make such a choice. "No," she said to herself, shaking her head. "I cannot do such a thing. There must be another way." But as the days passed and Emeka got weaker, Adani's options disappeared one by one. She applied for emergency loans and was rejected. She begged her lecturers for help, but they had no money to give. She even went to churches to ask for donations, but people looked at her with suspicion. Time was running out like sand through her fingers. 1 week before the deadline, Adani sat in her small room in the student hostel, crying until she had no more tears left. Her roommate Kemi found her there, curled up on her bed like a wounded animal. "Adani, what is wrong? You look terrible," Kemi said, sitting beside her. Through her sobs, Adani told Kemi everything. About Emeka's sickness, about the operation, about the money she desperately needed. Kemi listened quietly, then took a deep breath. I know you will not like what I am about to say, but I have an idea. What is it? Adani asked, though she feared she already knew. There is a man I know, a very rich man. He owns oil companies and banks. His name is Chief Adelik, but people call him the billionaire. He likes young, beautiful girls like you. He pays very well for company. Adani's blood turned cold. You mean I should sleep with him? For money? Just once, Kemi said quickly. He pays 2 million naira for one night. It would solve all your problems. You could save Emeka's life. The room fell silent except for the sound of Adani's heavy breathing. The idea made her feel dirty and ashamed. But Emeka's face appeared in her mind, his weak smile, his loving eyes, his dreams of their future together. I need to think about it, Adani whispered. That night, she could not sleep. She kept thinking about Emeka lying in that hospital bed, getting weaker every day. She thought about their love, their plans, their hopes. Could she really do something so terrible to save him? The next morning, she visited Emeka in the hospital. He looked even worse than before. His breathing was shallow, and his skin had turned a scary yellow color. Adani, he said weakly when he saw her. I had a dream last night. I dreamed we were getting married in your village. You looked so beautiful in your white dress. Tears filled her eyes. We will have that wedding, Emeka. I promise you. How? The doctors say I only have a few days left if I don't get the operation. Adani held his hand tightly. In that moment, looking at the man she loved more than her own life, she made the most difficult decision of her entire existence. I will get the money, she said firmly, no matter what it takes. That evening, Adani called Kemi. Her hands trembled as she held the phone. Kemi, about what you said yesterday, about the rich man, Chief Adelik? Are you sure about this, Adani? Once you do this, you cannot take it back. Adani closed her eyes and thought of Emeka's weak smile. I am sure. Set up the meeting. 2 days later, Adani found herself standing outside the most expensive hotel in Lagos. She wore her best dress, a simple blue one her mother had bought her for graduation. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might jump out of her chest. Kemi had told her what to expect. Chief Adelik was 55 years old, married with grown children. He was known for being both generous and demanding. He would pay the money up front, but he expected complete cooperation. Remember, Kemi had warned her. He can be rough, but just think about Emeka. Think about saving his life. As Adani walked into the hotel lobby, her legs felt like water. The place was fancier than anything she had ever seen. Marble floors, crystal lights, and furniture that probably cost more than her family's house in the village. She took the elevator to the top floor, the penthouse suite. Her reflection in the elevator mirror showed a scared young woman who looked much younger than her 22 years. She tried to look confident, but her eyes betrayed her fear. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. At the end of a long hallway was a door marked Presidential Suite. Adani walked toward it slowly, each step feeling like she was walking toward her own grave. She knocked softly on the door. Footsteps approached from inside, and the door opened to reveal a tall, well-dressed man with gray hair and cold eyes. This was Chief Adelik, the billionaire who was about to change her life forever. You must be Adani, he said, his voice deep and commanding. Kemi told me about you. Come in. The suite was bigger than her entire family home. Expensive furniture, artwork, and a view of Lagos that took her breath away. But Adani barely noticed any of it. Her mind was focused on one thing: getting the money to save Emeka. You are younger than I expected, Chief Adelik said, pouring himself a glass of expensive whiskey. And prettier. Kemi was right about you. Thank you, sir, Adani said quietly, not knowing what else to say. Do you know why you are here? He asked, his eyes studying her like she was something he was thinking of buying. Yes, sir. I need money for my boyfriend's operation. 2 million naira. Chief Adelik laughed, but it was not a kind laugh. Your boyfriend? How interesting. So you are willing to betray the man you love to save his life. That shows both loyalty and desperation. Adani felt shame burn in her chest, but she stood firm. I will do anything to save him. Anything? Chief Adelik moved closer to her. Are you sure about that, my dear? Because once we begin, there is no going back. I am not a gentleman, and I get what I pay for. Fear crawled up Adani's spine like a cold snake, but she nodded. I understand. Chief Adelik smiled, and something about that smile made her blood freeze. It was the smile of a predator who had found easy prey. Good, he said, walking to a safe in the corner of the room. Let me get your payment first. I always pay up front. It makes girls more cooperative. He returned with a briefcase full of cash. 2 million naira in neat bundles. More money than Adani had ever seen in her life. The money that would save Emeka's life. Count it if you want, Chief Adelik said. It's all there. Adani's hands shook as she looked at the money. This was it. This was the moment that would change everything. She thought of Emeka lying in that hospital bed, waiting for her to save him. What happens now? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Chief Adelik's smile grew wider, and his eyes grew darker. Now, my dear Adani, you are about to learn that some prices are much higher than they appear. What I am about to do to you, well, let's just say you will never forget this night for the rest of your life. As he reached for her with hands that felt like ice, Adani realized that she had made a terrible mistake. But it was too late to run. Too late to change her mind. Too late to save herself from what was about to happen. The briefcase of money sat on the table like a silent witness to the choice that would destroy her life forever. Chief Adelik's cold hands touched Adani's shoulders, and she felt like ice water was running through her body. But she thought of Emeka's weak face and stood still. You are trembling, the billionaire said with that scary smile. Don't worry, my dear. I will make this memorable for you. He led her to the bedroom, which was bigger than her entire family's house in the village. The bed was covered with expensive sheets that probably cost more than what her father made in a year as a farmer. Before we begin, Chief Adelik said, opening another briefcase, I want you to take this. Inside the briefcase were small bottles filled with different colored liquids and strange pills. What are those? Adani asked, her voice shaking. Medicine, he said. But his smile told her it was not the kind of medicine that made people better. Special medicine that will make tonight more interesting for both of us. Adani's heart started beating like a drum during a festival. Something was very wrong. This was not what Kemi had told her to expect. I don't want to take any medicine, she said, stepping back. Chief Adelik's face changed from fake kindness to real anger in 1 second. His eyes became hard like stones. My dear girl, he said in a voice that made her skin crawl. You took my money. That means you belong to me tonight. You will do exactly what I say or... He didn't finish the sentence, but Adani understood. She was trapped in this room with a dangerous man, and no one knew where she was except Kemi. Please, she whispered. I just need the money for my boyfriend's operation. I will do what you want, but please don't make me take strange medicine. Chief Adelik laughed again, that terrible sound that made her feel sick. Oh, but this is exactly what I want, my dear. You see, I don't just buy girls for one night. Collect them. And to add you to my collection, you need to take my special medicine. Now Adani understood that she was not just selling her body for one night. She was walking into something much worse. But Emeka's life was in her hands, and she had already taken the money. With tears falling down her face, she reached for one of the bottles. Good girl, Chief Adelik said, watching her like a hawk watches a mouse. Drink it all. The liquid tasted bitter and made her throat burn. Almost immediately, she felt strange. The room started spinning, and her thoughts became cloudy like when fever makes you confused. What did you give me? She asked, but her words sounded funny, like her tongue was too big for her mouth. Something very special, Chief Adelik said, and now his voice sounded like it was coming from far away. Something that will change you forever. What happened next was like a terrible nightmare that Adani could never fully remember. The medicine made everything blurry and confusing. She knew Chief Adelik hurt her in ways that no person should ever hurt another. She knew he did things to her that were not normal, not right, not human. But the worst part was not the pain. The worst part was what she realized the next morning when she woke up feeling like she was dying. The morning after, Adani woke up on the hotel room floor, not in the bed. Her body hurt everywhere, and she felt sick like she had malaria. The room was empty. Chief Adelik was gone. On the table next to the briefcase of money was a note written in neat handwriting. "Thank you for a wonderful night, my dear. What I gave you was not just medicine. It was a gift that will keep on giving. You are now part of my collection forever, whether you know it or not. Enjoy your new life. C.A." Adani's hands shook as she read the note again and again. What did he mean by gift that will keep on giving? What kind of collection? She felt too sick and confused to think clearly. All she knew was that she had the money to save Emeka. She put on her clothes, took the briefcase, and left the hotel as fast as she could. The taxi ride to the hospital felt like it took forever. Adani kept feeling dizzy and sick, but she told herself it was just from the stress and the terrible night she had experienced. When she reached the hospital, she ran to Emeka's room with the briefcase full of money. Her heart was full of hope despite everything that had happened. She had done it. She had saved the man she loved. "Emeka," she called as she burst into his room. "I have the money. We can do the operation." Emeka was awake, sitting up in bed looking better than he had in weeks. But when he saw her, his face became confused and worried. "Adani, you look terrible. What happened to you? And where did you get that briefcase?" Adani realized she must look as bad as she felt. Her hair was messy, her dress was wrinkled, and she probably smelled like the expensive perfume from Chief Adelik's hotel room. I found a way to get the money," she said, not wanting to tell him the truth. "It doesn't matter how. What matters is that you can get better now." Emeka studied her face carefully. He had known her for many years, and he could tell when she was hiding something. "Adani, tell me the truth. How did you get 2 million naira overnight?" Before she could answer, Dr. Okafor entered the room with a big smile on his face. "Mr. Emeka, I have wonderful news. We found a donor who wants to pay for your operation. A rich businessman heard about your case and decided to help. The surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning." Adani felt like the world had stopped moving. "What do you mean, a donor?" "A man called Chief Adelik," Dr. Okafor said happily. "He said he heard about young love and wanted to help. Very generous man. He paid for everything this morning." The briefcase fell from Adani's hands and crashed to the floor. Money scattered everywhere, but she didn't notice. Her mind was spinning like a tornado. Chief Adelik had already paid for Emeka's operation, which meant she had sold her body for nothing. She had given herself to that monster for no reason at all. "Adani," Emeka called, jumping out of bed to catch her as she fell. "What's wrong?" But Adani couldn't speak. She couldn't tell him that she had destroyed herself to save him, only to discover that he was already saved. She couldn't tell him about the terrible night, about the strange medicine, about the note that promised her life would never be the same. As Emeka held her, trying to understand what was happening, Adani felt something inside her break forever. She had been tricked, used, played like a fool by a man who collected girls like some people collect stamps. But the worst was still to come. The gift that Chief Adelik had mentioned was growing inside her body like a poison plant. Soon, she would understand exactly what price she had paid for nothing. 3 weeks later, Emeka's operation was successful. He recovered quickly and was back to his old self, strong, happy, and full of dreams for their future together. He proposed to Adani right there in the hospital, promising to love her forever. But Adani could not share his happiness. Since that terrible night, she had been feeling sick every day. At first, she thought it was just stress and sadness from what had happened. But as days passed, the sickness got worse. She had strange rashes on her skin that wouldn't go away. She felt tired all the time, even after sleeping for many hours. Her body ached in ways that reminded her of that horrible night with Chief Adelik. "You should see a doctor," Emeka said one morning as he watched her struggle to get out of bed. "You've been sick for weeks now."
"I'm fine, Adonilit."
Just tired from all the stress. But she wasn't fine. Deep in her heart, she knew that whatever Chief Adelik had given her that night was making her sick. She remembered his note. A gift that will keep on giving. Finally, when she could no longer hide how sick she was, she went to see Dr. Okafor at the same hospital where Emeka had been treated. "I need you to test me for everything," she told him, her voice full of fear. Dr. Okafor was surprised. "Everything? What do you mean?" "All diseases, especially the ones that people can catch from being with someone who is sick." The doctor's face became serious. "Adoni, is there something you want to tell me? Something that happened that might explain why you're feeling unwell?" Adoni couldn't look him in the eyes. "Just test me, please." The tests took 3 days. 3 days during which Adoni could barely eat or sleep. She kept thinking about Chief Adelik's evil smile and his promise that she would never forget that night. When Dr. Okafor called her back to his office, she knew from his sad face that her worst fears had come true. "Adoni," he said gently, "I'm very sorry. The tests show that you have contracted a very serious disease. It's something that cannot be cured." The room started spinning around her. "What kind of... We can give you medicine to slow it down, but it will never go away. And it can be passed to other people through close contact." Adoni felt like she was falling into a deep, dark hole. Chief Adelik hadn't just used her body for his evil pleasure. He had infected her with a disease that would slowly kill her. "How long do I have?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "With proper medicine and care, you could live for many years. But Adoni, you must tell anyone you've been close with. They need to be tested too." Emeka. She would have to tell Emeka. The man she had sacrificed everything to save would now have to face the possibility that she had given him a death sentence. That night, Adoni sat in her small room, staring at the test results. Chief Adelik had played the cruelest trick imaginable. He had made her think she was sacrificing herself to save Emeka, when really he was planning to destroy them both. She thought about calling the police, but who would believe her? Chief Adelik was a powerful man with money and connections. She was just a poor student with no proof of what he had done to her. The next morning, she gathered all her courage to tell Emeka the truth. She would tell him about the terrible night, about the disease, about everything. She hoped he would understand. She hoped he would forgive her. She hoped their love would be strong enough to survive this terrible storm. But when she reached his apartment, ready to confess everything, she found him sitting with a beautiful girl she had never seen before. They were holding hands and laughing together like lovers. "Emeka?" Adoni called from the doorway. He looked up, and for a moment, she saw guilt flash in his eyes before it was replaced by something cold and distant. "Adoni, I was going to call you. We need to talk." The beautiful girl stood up and smiled at Adoni like she was greeting an old friend instead of her boyfriend's girlfriend. "You must be Adoni," the girl said sweetly. "I'm Chioma. Emeka has told me so much about you." Adoni's world started crumbling like a house made of sand. "Emeka, what is happening here?" Emeka couldn't look her in the eyes. "Adoni, I met Chioma while I was recovering. She was volunteering at the hospital. We fell in love. But what about us? What about our engagement? What about all our plans?" "I'm sorry," Emeka said, and his voice sounded like a stranger's. "But I realized that what we had was just gratitude. I was grateful that you helped save my life. But that's not the same as love." Adoni felt like she was drowning. The man she had destroyed herself to save was abandoning her. The man she had contracted an incurable disease for was throwing her away like garbage. "Emeka, I need to tell you something important," she said, her voice shaking. "Something happened while you were sick. Something that affects both of us." But Emeka was already standing up, already choosing his new life over their old one. Whatever it is, Aduni, it doesn't matter now. I'm with Chioma. We're getting married next month. I think it's better if we don't see each other anymore. As Aduni stood there, holding her test results in her trembling hands, watching the man she loved choose another woman, she realized that Chief Adalik's revenge was even more perfect than she had imagined. He hadn't just infected her with a disease. He had infected her with a secret that would poison every relationship she ever tried to have. How could she tell future partners about her condition without explaining how she got it? How could she ever love again knowing that her love might kill the person she cared about? But the cruelest part was still coming. As she turned to leave Emika's apartment forever, she heard Chioma's sweet voice behind her. "Oh, Emika, I forgot to tell you. My father wants to meet you. He's very excited about our engagement. He's been asking about you since I told him we're getting married." "Who is your father?" Emika asked. Chioma's answer hit Aduni like a thunderbolt from heaven. "Chief Adalik. The man who paid for your operation. He said he wants to personally thank the young man who won his daughter's heart." Aduni's legs gave out, and she had to grab the doorframe to keep from falling. Chief Adalik's daughter. Emika was going to marry Chief Adalik's daughter. The billionaire's plan was not just cruel, it was masterfully evil. He had used Aduni's body, infected her with disease, paid for her boyfriend's operation, and now his own daughter was stealing that same boyfriend away. As laughter echoed from inside the apartment, the happy laughter of two people in love, Aduni stumbled away into the Lagos streets, finally understanding the full scope of what had been done to her. But Chief Adalik's game was not over yet. The worst revelation was still waiting for her, hidden in a phone call that would come 3 months later. The phone call that would reveal the most shocking truth of all about what the billionaire had really done to her that night. 3 months had passed since that terrible day when Aduni discovered Emika was marrying Chief Adalik's daughter. 3 months of living with a deadly secret, 3 months of watching her body slowly get weaker, 3 months of understanding that her life would never be normal again. She had moved back to her family's village, unable to bear staying in Lagos where every street reminded her of her destroyed dreams. Her parents thought she had come home because she missed them, but really she had come home to die slowly and quietly. The medicine Dr. Okafor had given her helped a little, but she could feel the disease eating away at her strength like termites eating wood. Some days she could barely get out of bed. Other days, the rashes on her skin were so bad that she had to cover herself completely so her parents wouldn't ask questions. She had not told anyone about her condition. How could she? How could she explain to her simple village parents that their daughter had sold her body to a rich man and caught a disease that would kill her? How could she tell them that she had done it all for a boyfriend who threw her away like rotten fruit? On this particular morning, Aduni sat under the big mango tree behind her family's house, watching the sunrise and wondering how many more sunrises she would see. The village was peaceful and quiet, so different from busy Lagos. Birds sang in the trees, and she could hear her mother preparing breakfast in the kitchen. For a moment, she felt almost happy. Almost like the old Aduni who had dreams and hopes and believed that love could conquer anything. Then her phone rang. The number was unknown, but something made her answer it. "Hello?" she said quietly. "Is this Aduni Okafor?" The voice was deep and familiar, and it made her blood turn to ice. "Chief Adalik, what do you want?" she whispered, looking around to make sure no one could hear her. "My dear girl," he said, and she could hear the evil smile in his voice. "I hope you are enjoying my gift. I hear you left Lagos. Very wise. The city can be so unhealthy for someone in your condition." "Leave me alone," Aduni said, her voice shaking. "You've already destroyed my life. What more do you want?" Chief Adalik laughed that terrible laugh she remembered from that awful night. "Oh, my dear, I haven't destroyed your life. I've just begun to play with it. You see, there's something I never told you about that night. Something that makes everything even more interesting." Aduni's heart started beating like a drum. "What are you talking about? Do you remember the special medicine I gave you? The one that made everything so blurry and confusing? The poison you used to infect me?" "Yes, I remember. Poison," Chief Adelik laughed even harder. Oh, my sweet, stupid girl. That wasn't poison. That was something much more valuable. Something that will make you very, very rich. Adunni didn't understand. What do you mean? The medicine I gave you wasn't just to make you sick, my dear. It was to make you special. You see, I don't just collect girls for pleasure. I collect them for business. The world around Adunni started spinning. What kind of business? The medicine I gave you contains a very rare virus. Not just any virus, a virus that I created in my private laboratory. A virus that changes people in very specific ways. And you, my dear Adunni, are now carrying something worth millions of dollars. Adunni felt like she was going to vomit. You're lying. Am I? Tell me, have you noticed anything unusual about your condition? Have the doctors been confused by your test results? Have they said your case is different from what they usually see? Now that he mentioned it, Dr. Okafor had seemed puzzled by some of her test results. He had said her case was unusual and unlike typical presentations of the disease. What did you do to me? She whispered. I made you into a walking laboratory, my dear. The virus in your body is not just making you sick, it's creating something new. Something that pharmaceutical companies around the world would pay billions for. Adunni's mind was reeling. I don't understand. Let me explain it simply, Chief Adelik said, his voice becoming businesslike. My scientists have been working for years to create a virus that can be controlled and modified. A virus that can be used to deliver medicine directly to specific parts of the body. Imagine being able to cure cancer by simply giving someone a virus that targets only cancer cells. Imagine curing diabetes, heart disease, even aging itself. But I'm dying, Adunni said, confused. Are you? Look at yourself carefully, my dear. Yes, you feel sick sometimes. Yes, you have rashes and weakness. But have you actually gotten worse over these past months? Or have you stayed exactly the same level of sick? Adunni thought about it and realized he was right. She felt terrible, but she hadn't actually gotten worse since those first few weeks. The virus I gave you is designed to keep you sick enough to be useful, but not sick enough to die, Chief Adelik continued. You are now a living, breathing laboratory for the most valuable medical research in the world. You're insane, Adunni said, but fear was growing in her chest like a cold flower. Insane? No, my dear. I'm a businessman, and you are my most valuable product. What do you want from me? I want you to come back to Lagos. I want you to live in a special place I've prepared for you. A comfortable place where my doctors can study you and take samples of your blood regularly. In exchange, I will pay you 1 million naira every month for the rest of your life. Adunni couldn't believe what she was hearing. You want to keep me like a laboratory animal? I want to make you rich, my dear. Think about it, 1 million naira every month. You could help your family. You could live in comfort. All you have to do is let my doctors take a little blood every week. And if I refuse? Chief Adelik's voice became cold and dangerous. If you refuse, I will make sure that everyone in your village knows exactly what you did to get money for your worthless boyfriend. I will tell them about the disease you carry. I will make sure no one will ever want to be near you again. And then, when you are completely alone and hated by everyone, I will have you kidnapped and brought to my laboratory anyway. Adunni felt trapped like a bird in a cage. You're a monster. I'm a visionary, my dear. In 10 years, when my virus is perfected and being used to cure diseases all over the world, I will be remembered as the man who changed medicine forever. And you, my sweet Adunni, will be remembered as the woman who made it all possible. What about Emeka? What about your daughter? Ah yes, my beautiful Chioma. She doesn't know about any of this, of course. She genuinely fell in love with your former boyfriend. It was just convenient that she happened to be volunteering at the hospital when he was recovering. Sometimes fate helps us in the most wonderful ways. Adunni realized that even Emeka's new love had been orchestrated by this evil man. Nothing in her life had been real. Everything had been controlled by Chief Adelik from the very beginning. How long have you been planning this? She asked. Oh, my dear girl. I've been planning this for much longer than you think. Do you really believe that Kemi suggested you to me by accident? Do you think it was coincidence that she knew exactly how much money you needed? The world tilted sideways. Kemi works for you? Kemi has been working for me for 2 years. She finds me beautiful, desperate girls who need money quickly. Girls who won't be missed if something goes wrong. Girls like you. Everything made sense now. Kemi's strange knowledge about rich men who paid for company. Her quick solution to Aduni's problem. Her detailed instructions about what to expect. It had all been a trap from the very beginning. You planned everything, Aduni said, her voice barely audible. Everything, Chief Adelik confirmed proudly. Your boyfriend's sickness, your desperation, your choice to come to me, even your discovery that the operation was already paid for. I wanted you to understand that you had sacrificed yourself for nothing. I wanted you to feel the full weight of your foolishness. But why? Why me? What did I ever do to you? Chief Adelik was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with old anger. 25 years ago, I was a young man in love with a beautiful girl from your village. Her name was Folake Okafor. She was smart, kind, and had dreams of becoming a teacher. I loved her more than life itself. Aduni's blood turned to ice. Okafor was her family name. Folake was her mother's name. Your mother, Chief Adelik continued, rejected me because I was poor then. She said she could never marry a man who had nothing to offer her. She married your father instead, a simple farmer who could barely feed his family. She chose poverty over love, and it broke my heart into a million pieces. Aduni couldn't speak. Her mother had never mentioned knowing Chief Adelik when he was young. I spent the next 25 years building my fortune, waiting for the right moment to get my revenge. When I learned that Folake's daughter was a student in Lagos, desperate for money to save her boyfriend, I knew fate had given me the perfect opportunity. You destroyed my life because my mother rejected you 25 years ago? I destroyed your life because your mother taught me that love means nothing without money. She showed me that people will always choose security over affection. So I decided to teach her daughter the same lesson, but in reverse. I wanted to show you that money means nothing without love. Tears were streaming down Aduni's face. She was just a young girl making a choice about her future. She didn't know you would become rich. That's exactly the point, my dear. She judged me when I had nothing, never giving me a chance to prove what I could become. Now her daughter will live the rest of her life knowing that she gave up everything for a man who abandoned her the moment things became difficult. And the virus? The disease? That was just business, my dear. I needed test subjects for my research, and I needed revenge against your family. It was efficient to accomplish both goals at the same time. Aduni looked at her phone, at this device that was carrying the voice of the man who had systematically destroyed her entire existence. She thought about her mother in the kitchen, preparing breakfast and humming softly, not knowing that her daughter was paying the price for a choice she had made decades ago. So what happens now? Aduni asked. Now you choose, my dear. You can come back to Lagos and live comfortably as my research subject, or you can stay in your village and watch me destroy what's left of your family's reputation. Either way, you belong to me now. You are my creation, my property, my revenge made flesh. As Chief Adelik's evil laughter echoed from the phone, Aduni realized that her story was far from over. She was not just a victim anymore. She was a weapon in a war between her family's past and future. The question now was, what would she choose to do with the terrible power that flowed through her infected blood? The sun had fully risen now, and her village was waking up around her. Children were laughing as they walked to school. Her father was preparing to work in the fields. Her mother was still humming in the kitchen. None of them knew that their peaceful morning was about to be shattered forever by the choice Aduni would have to make. Because Chief Adelik was still talking, and what he said next would change everything once again. Oh, and Aduni? There's one more thing you should know about my special virus. It's not just valuable for medical research. It's also highly contagious when the carrier is under extreme emotional stress. Which means that everyone in your little village, your parents, your neighbors, Everyone you've been around these past 3 months. They might all be carrying my creation now. The phone fell from Aduni's trembling hands as she realized the most horrible truth of all. She had not just been turned into a weapon against herself. She had been turned into a weapon against everyone she had ever loved. Did you enjoy the story? Share your thought on the comment section and also comment part 2. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share the story with your friends.